And here we are ready for round two. Started just a few minutes later, as you can see. So, what did we end up doing? Well, I should point out that discovery that the only material in the book or in the play, the only words in the play would come from the book. That discovery was made in the course of working on things, and I really wasn't conclusive about that idea until just a couple of weeks ago. So working backwards, there are things that I pretty much always do when I'm the playwright for an adaptation. Obviously, I read the book several times. I read it in several different ways. I do take copious notes. I have lots of different ways of taking notes in my life, and ideas pour out at the weirdest of times. And so I'm just collecting them in a not very organized way as I continue reading the book and rereading it, and it becomes a part of my life for those months when I'm working on that project. I also do some things that are very pragmatic and practical. That's the left half of my brain, I guess, imposing itself on the creative process. So with Portrait of the Artist, I used a computer program called Omni Outliner, and I made an outline of the book, of all the major scenes, to help me start organizing the question of the events and what actually happens in the book, and what causes what else to happen. All of this, of course, is working in part on the question of what's important in the book, and also on how do we get from the beginning to the end, and what are the things that we really, really have to include and really show on stage in order for this to be a faithful adaptation, as radical as it may or may not end up being. So I started with that bigger outline, and then one of the things that's great about this book is the way it is. There are episodes that are interwoven in intricate ways and unexpected ways. One of the things about Stephen Dedalus that I identified with, I guess, especially him as a young man, you'll see him where he's in one place and he's thinking about something that happened to him before, or he's not listening to the person that's talking because his brain, his imagination is working. And so there are lots of episodes, but they're layered in really interesting ways throughout the book. And it jumps around in time a little bit as he remembers things. So I ended up, in order to help myself wrestle with this, we use note cards, just regular note cards. I always have lots of them on hand. You'll see Available Light people use those a lot because we can work with them as individual units and rearrange them. It allows us to be tactile and visual as well. So while I was having a wonderful time house and dog sitting in Granville, thank you Christian, Carla, and Ferb, I spent that time doing another reading of the book, specifically to go through and for each distinct event in the book, each scene that had its own beginning, middle, and end, I produced a note card that described the things that happened. And sometimes this was one note card for 30 pages of the book, and sometimes it was 3 note cards for 1 page of the book. That's sort of how the book operates and how I was coming to understand it. So then I had a list really of every moment in the book, and the word moment is specific because there's something called moment work that is sort of passed down to Available Light through the teachings of the Tectonic Theater Company, and it's become very significant to the way that we make work. And it was something I knew I wanted to focus on in going into this adaptation of A Portrait of the Artist. So then finally I feel like I've got my brain wrapped around what happens in the book. And in the meantime, I've been taking tons of notes. It's sort of like they're 2 parallel lines. My left brain is outlining the book, and my right brain is considering the book and coming up with all sorts of ideas. And I've got a million different ideas already of different things we could do to stage parts of the book, or other things that we could bring in. Some of them are purely visual. Some of them are to do with the words and the arrangement of space or the arrangement of actors. So both sides of the brain have been working on the problem, and I haven't tried to, in any way, shape, or form, connect them to each other. It's worth noting at this point that it's different every time. And the needs of the project are what you're trying to meet. So even though I might start having some idea of what I want to accomplish or how I'm going to go about it, I invariably have to depart from that plan and just respond to what the project seems to need, what I need to deal with the book. I'm exhausted just thinking about that. That's the end of part 2.